Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our 4th of July show. What we're going to do, y'all might not even know this. What we're going to do is we're going to do a few, bring back some clips of some things that we've done in the past, and because 4th of July is the show day, and we're going to be doing something.
Yeah, that's right. We're not going to be here on that day. We're going to be out celebrating like the rest of you.
We're filming. We're filming right now to get ready for that, and but it'll be a good show. And if you're around the house, if it's raining, because I've heard we might get some rain on that day, but I hope not. Hope everybody's safe and sound. Remember, fireworks are dangerous.
That's right.
Yes, they are.
They can blow a finger off. Who's that professional football player that was the defensive end that was making millions of dollars and blew 2 or 3 of his fingers off and like to never made it back?
That's
Justin
too
Tuck.
hard. That is absolutely too hard of a question.
I think it's Justin Tuck. Was it Justin Tuck? It was one of those guys like
that. Just a test.
But no, I'm just saying that to say, be careful with your fireworks. Something else you need to think about. Of course, we've had a lot of rain, but it's always, it doesn't take long for the things to dry up. You're shooting this stuff up in the air. Make sure it doesn't land on somebody else's house.
Absolutely,
if you're in the neighborhood, Chief Blackwell's going to keep an eye, and the fire department and all these people are going to keep an eye on that stuff. So we just want you to have a safe and sound 4th of July holiday. I guess, I don't keep up with it like I used to, but a lot of the companies, factory stuff, they get off. A lot of people get off around this time of the year.
Oh yeah, everybody's off.
I mean, but maybe a little bit a week before and a week after. Some of them plan their vacations for that time.
Right.
Sure.
So all of you folks be safe out there. Remember, there's little kids out running around, and keep an eye out for them, and just be safe.
And
that's right. And enjoy the show today.
Yeah.
John's got some musical stuff that's going to be on this show, and also we're going to be bringing you the entire press conference from the Dukes of Hazzard folks that were here. John
that
Snyder,
was pretty exciting.
Catherine Bach and Tom Moped, and we've shown a few clips out of that, but we've got the whole thing we're going to show you.
Now, who were those 2 guys with Catherine Bach?
Yeah, you noticed them, didn't you?
I don't know. Something's totally unfair about this, because I covered all that stuff myself, and I don't think I ever got to see Catherine Bach. She was not there for the press conference.
Really? That's too bad.
She's a few years older than when she did the show, but still looking good.
I'll bet she is.
That's right.
So with all of that said, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break and bring you back with our 4th of July show. Enjoy it and be safe, and we'll see you next week.
The Russell Barnett Automotive family has launched its new Owner Advantage program. It starts as simple as your first year's maintenance is included with the purchase. We have 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plans available. Car detailing, car rental, collision repair. Stop by one of our 5 locations and let one of our certified sales staff tell you all about it. The Russell Barnett Automotive Family Advantage program. And remember, my question is, why buy anywhere else?
All I have to do to think about what I was physically before and what I am now, and I don't ever want to go back to that original situation.
The overall mission of the rehab team is always what is best for the patient and how we can facilitate maximum potential from every resident.
Well, the most important thing to me is that I'm allowed to do whatever I want to do,
Everyday miracles at Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm so thrilled today to have the opportunity to speak with someone I've known for several years and someone you've known probably for generations, some of you. He's the storied Nashville record producer, Mr. Rob Galbraith. And Rob has been gracious enough to come on stage with us today, get in front of the camera. He's usually in front of a microphone or behind a soundboard.
Yeah, I'm more comfortable there than I am right here.
Right here?
Sure. Yeah.
But Rob has done many things throughout his career, and I know one of the things that he's done and done well is produced the great star Ronnie Millsap for several years, hadn't you, Rob?
Mm-hmm.
What actually got you started in this music business? You've been in Nashville, what, 47 years?
Yeah, been down there a while.
How'd you get there?
I-70. I mean, Highway 70 came in from Knoxville down here before the interstates. As a matter of fact, I was playing in bands in high school and then in college, and then I got off into radio, and then when I was on radio in Knoxville at WNOX, we covered the whole Southeast at night time,
Right.
AM rock. And Ronnie was down in Atlanta, and he used to hear me. So when he came up to when he was doing on a record label, he was kind of like the white Ray Charles.
Right.
So he came out and did a promotion show up there in Knoxville, and he used to listen to me on the air, and so he wanted to meet me. So we met and we became friends, and so that was like in '66, and so we've been running around together since then for a long time. And then he moved to Memphis. I'd go down there and visit him down there, and then he moved to Nashville, and we started a publishing company together in '78, and I've been doing it basically since '78, off and on for 37 years or whatever. We've been working together, and I had a couple of record deals thrown at me from Columbia as an artist, and then later on RCA, but I didn't seem to gravitate toward that as much as I did the production end of it. And production and publishing, so I've kind of stayed in that more. But then I still go out every now and then with some guys and play a little bit. Once every 6 or 7 months, whether there's a public outcry or not, we go out.
Well, I know I saw some of your footage on YouTube, and y'all were playing Shame, Shame, Shame.
Yeah, that was Jimmy Reed thing. It's like I've functioned basically. They do mainly do, except for that, and a few other songs. They do things that I wrote at one time. And I basically function as the female chick singer. I know that's redundant, but it's the second term in the business, the female chick singer. And I just basically get the song started, then spend the next 4 minutes trying to stop those whatnots.
Yeah.
Because there's some pretty good players.
Oh, the people that you play with are exceptional.
Yeah,
exceptional.
they really are, man.
A statement you made earlier about Ronnie Millsap seeking you out because you were a disc jockey that he liked. That was back in the days when the disc jockey made a whole lot of difference to the artist.
Yeah.
Because the disc jockey had just a little bit of say of what played on his show.
When I first started working at NOX, nobody wanted to be the music director, so they gave it to me as like a 21-year-old kid or something, man. And we played a lot more R&B than probably they needed. But then later on, Johnny Perkle took it over. But we had discretion on a lot of songs we could play, and some songs we would make successful in the area that weren't hits necessarily anywhere else.
Right.
A lot of the Carolina beach songs and stuff like that. But Millsap down in Atlanta, we covered all the way from Baltimore down to Savannah and Mobile, and so Ronnie, we met because he used to listen to the stuff, and we become business partners and really close friends over the last 100 years.
100 years?
Yeah.
Who else have you worked with? I know in reading about you and looking at your discography that you had some Clifford Curry, did some work with Clifford Curry.
That's what brought me to Nashville. I got Clifford. I did some demos on him. Clifford's a black dude, African American. I guess now I refer to myself as Appalachian American.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm from East Tennessee.
There you go.
But Clifford, I played in bands with Clifford, and we did some demos on him, and then a couple other guys later on. And I took him down to Nashville and just knocked on doors. And I was working at the radio station at night and going to school, and on the days off, I wasn't in school. I would leave early in the morning, come down here, and I'd run across people who were country.
Right.
I'd find myself singing across the desk from somebody that I had nothing in common with. And I finally found Buzz Cason and Matt Gaden, and then I got these guys record deals, and then later on I moved to Nashville to kind of manage their career, one thing or another, and then I wrote a song or so. Then Billy Sherrill heard the song I wrote and signed me as an artist and had me do an album, and then one thing led to another, But Clifford I worked with, and then during that year of working with Columbia, after I did an album for Columbia for Sherrill, I went to New York and interviewed for an A&R position there in Nashville. Mm-hmm. And Billy had me go up there and do it, and they hired me to do rock. Find rock artists and pop out of Nashville back in 1970, which to this day I'm not sure a major record label has somebody there just strictly for rock or pop. And I found several things. One I told Jessie, she's a big fan of, was Johnny Cale, J.J. Cale was. Right. I took his stuff up there, and I cut some stuff on a guy named Harry Chapin in New York. and I tried to get them to sign Harry. Most of the people I took them who later on succeeded, they couldn't hear it.
Couldn't hear it at that point.
You know, and they succeeded later on in spite of that. But it was a frustrating and rewarding time because I got to work right beside Billy. I had an office right beside his, and I learned a lot.
Billy just passed recently.
He died about 2 weeks ago, something like that. 2-3 weeks ago. Yeah, he was my favorite country producer. I used to go down to Studio B where he cut. He pretty much had Studio B blocked out every day at 2:00, and I would go down there and watch him record. And I wish I'd spent more time in the control room with him, but I've spent more time out on the floor. And sometimes I just go down with had no Telecaster and plug into there. At those places back then, the studios, you didn't have cartage services, and the studios would have the drums set up, and they'd have amplifiers, so the musicians would just bring what they had to play in, plug in.
Right.
And
because they had the sound the way it needed.
Yeah,
to
and
be.
they didn't. Yeah, exactly. The drum set at Columbia Studio B was leaked into a lot of stuff, but that leakage is part of the charm of it, and so the guys didn't have to schlep a whole lot of gear around. They just used what was there, you know. And so I would go down and kind of visit Studio B. I love that Quonset hut, the old studio. When Owen Bradley put that Quonset hut there in whenever it was, late 50s, early 60s, that's what started Music Row on 16th Avenue South.
Right.
If he had put it in Tullahoma, Music Row would be right down here.
Right.
You know, if they had musicians down here. But he happened to put it there, and that's where it all built around that.
I guess my next question is, how do you see Nashville music, the music scene in Nashville? What's changed from 35, 40 years ago? It's much more diversified, isn't it?
Oh, it's pretty much exactly the same. You know, I don't see any difference. Well, I mean, my gosh, it's a world of difference. You know, back then, it was really what the foundation of country music. You know, when you had the Hank Williams, and then later on you had the George Jones era and such like that. And then it's gotten where it's pretty much more of a pop type. What used to be pop back in the 60s or 70s. And nowadays you got the whole bro country thing, and I felt for the last 10 to 15 years there's been so much emphasis put on co-writing, and it's a political thing to get a couple of publishers, you know, and you get a lot of these people co-writing, and the more people you got involved, the more chances you got people working on a song trying to get someone to record it. But I felt that there's been a dearth of great songs in Nashville, and I haven't heard, you know, and the melodies and such, man. I can count on one hand the people I think are real bona fide, no-lie composers, you know. And you don't have to be a great musician to be a wonderful composer. Like Christopherson wrote some wonderful melodies, but Chris couldn't play more than probably 4 chords.
Right.
You know, but you know, this changed a lot, man. The whole bro country thing. A lot of people in Nashville seem to think it's going to run its course, and I hope it does. It'll change the record labels as long as they're making money off of what they're doing. They will not change it. You have to show them a way. And some artist has to come along and show them a different way. And Taylor Swift was different, but they couldn't clone her. They couldn't capture that. Right. So someone will come along and show them a different path, and it'll morph. But it's right now it's been for the last several years. I felt it's been very uncreative.
You know, when we were at the Opry the night that they had the salute to Ray Price, and I was invited up there along with some of the other people involved in that album, there was a young man, Chris Jansen, on stage. And man, was I impressed with him. Mm-hmm. He looked like a Hank Williams Sr. with an electric guitar, and I mean, he had it.
He's a lot of talented guys, man. You know, if they get a chance to break through, then it'll be wonderful. It's all about, I tell people, timing, talent, and perseverance. And unfortunately, talent sometimes maybe the least important of the three. You've got to hang in there and get some kind of positive feedback and have to stay with it until the time comes that everything seems to work out, and then hopefully you've got some modicum of talent to be able to make that work.
Right.
And if you do, and if you're really talented, then you got a career. But it's a wonderful business. I've been able to do it and make a living at it for a long time, and I'm happy with it. And I'm happier with the people I'm working with right now than I have been ever. And the situations, I believe in these folks, and doing a new thing on Millsap right now. It's mainly about 3/4 of it are going to be duets. Mm-hmm. 3 or 4 songs will be running by himself, and the rest of them will be like duets with Keith Urbans and the Jason Aldeans and the Luke Bryants and people like that. The gist of it being, do your favorite Ronnie Millsap song with Ronnie Millsap. So Ronnie doesn't have to learn the song.
He already knows
his band knows it. So we're going to start cutting that like in a couple of weeks. And
that's great.
And this young lady who I want you to check out here in a minute, Jessie, we started using her as like a practice partner to try to work up arrangements so that in case Miranda Lambert or somebody did it, we'd have the arrangement worked up already, and Ronnie fell in love with her vocal and with her as a person, and so now she's on the album doing one or maybe two songs.
And she's smiling. She's over there smiling.
She's the real deal. And Jessie just turned 20. She's just out of her teenage years. And she's a sweet child.
Here at Manchester Funeral Home, we know the importance of living and working in our local community because it's those families who we serve during their time of need honorably. We believe in supporting local business and offer only 100% Batesville caskets, the best in the industry and a driver of our local economy. If you want straightforward and fair pricing while working with the people you know, choose Manchester Funeral Home, serving your community since 1932. And pre-planning and pre-funding can be the best gift you ever leave your loved ones. Call us to pre-arrange. Manchester Funeral Home. Our family, caring for your family since 1932.
If you want to be a parent, it doesn't matter how you play, what you wear, how you dance, or even what direction life takes you. You just need to be there. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care don't need perfection. They just need you.
How long has it been since you raced a cheetah? Are your tornado creating skills getting rusty? Tired of being the only one in your neighborhood who hasn't built a dinosaur? Sounds like it's time to visit the Hands-On Science Center. The Hands-On Science Center is an indoor science playground. In this museum, please touch is the rule. Join us for weekly science demonstrations on space, lasers, lizards, rocks, and a whole lot more. No two visits are ever the same, so visit often to see our ever-changing exhibits and demonstrations. The Hands-On Science Center, 101 Mitchell Boulevard in Tullahoma.
The only way we can solve Nashville's problem is to find a better song and find a better artist with a great pure soul and a heart that goes along with the words that he or she is singing. And she's getting ready to come up on stage right now, the person who can do that. All right, folks, what we want to do now is introduce you to Jessie Key, who is on the stage with us now, and again with Rob Galbraith. And Jessie.
Yes, sir.
Girl from Kentucky.
Yes, sir.
Found your way to Nashville.
I did. I found my way to Nashville, finally.
Yeah, I had a track that I'd done on somebody, a girl who kind of quit the business, and so I had this track. I've been looking for somebody to sing it, and I put several people on it in Nashville. And so I thought, well, maybe her voice will fit with it. And I think before she ever put her voice on it, she played me a tape of a little EP she and another guy, part of a duet, had out, and I heard about 10 seconds of one song where I heard what I wanted to hear, and after about 10 to 15 seconds, seriously, I said, if you want a producer, you've got one. You know, it was like you could tell right off.
I tell you what are y'all going to do? Y'all going to do
We're going to do
bits
just a section of about 4 songs, just to give you an idea of a little cross section of what Jessie does.
What you can do.
This first one is part of that. It's a groove track, man. It's almost like an It's Your Thing or something, but this is the one I was going to put her voice on, and we did. And
kind of like an answer to the, like the cat calls of Bro Country, like the
right.
Hey girl, it's kind of the reverse.
It's the girl intimidating the boy,
They all intimidate me.
Hey there, boy, do your daddy let you date? Hey there, boy, do your daddy let you date? We're gonna stay out late. On a scale of 1 to 10, he's about an 8. You can ride me around this little old town and buy my dinner plate. I said, hey there, boy, do your daddy let you date? Do you date? Ask your daddy. Ask your daddy. Do you date? Oh, ask your daddy. Ask your daddy.
There you go.
There we go. So there's a first
That's a little.
My love's come along. My lonely days are over. And life is like a song. Oh, yeah, at last. The skies above are blue. My heart was wrapped up in clover. The night I looked at you, I found a dream that I could speak to, a dream that I can call my own. I found a thrill to press my cheek to, a thrill that I have never known. Oh, you smile. Oh, and then the spell was cast. And here we are in heaven. For you are mine at last. Oh, baby.
Oh, wait.
You gotta throw "oh, baby" in there. Whatever happened to the yodeling cowgirls that rode across the silver screen? The ones who rode with Roy and all the other boys who rode their Angel Tex and Jean. Whatever happened to the yodeling cowgirls that I'm too young to know? Well, they can still be found and have them come to town and put us on a yodeling show, and they'll go yodeloo-dee, 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 yodeloo-dee. Hey, hey, yodeloo-dee, 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 yodeloo-dee. Hi, che-cho-che, I'm the lady, yodeloo-dee, yodeloo-dee, yodeloo-dee. Hi, che-cho-che, I'm the lady, yodeloo-dee, yodeloo-dee, yodeloo-dee. How yodeloo-dee, 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 yodeloo-dee. Oh, yeah.
I butchered that, no end.
We certainly do appreciate you taking your time to come down here and be with us today. It's just been delightful, and we wish you all the best of the future. And I know that it's just all you have to do is just go to sleep and wake up a few more days, and that great big bright future will be waiting on you, because you have all kinds of talent. Rob, thanks for coming down, buddy.
Man, my pleasure.
And you know, just know that you're welcome. Anytime, we'd love to have you come back and see us and keep us posted.
We're going to come back down here. We're going to come back down to Daddy Billy's to get about to eat.
Oh, my gosh.
Jesse's falling in love with Tullahoma.
Yeah.
I'm done. Tullahoma, y'all made it so, we had an absolute blast today.
Well, folks, thanks a whole lot. And until next time, be safe, be successful, have fun.
Thank you, John.
The main thing out of all of this is it ain't no good unless it's fun to do.
Oh, well,
Don't punish yourself. Have fun.
I think you can see we're having fun. John Andre Gray. John Gray, Andre.
Yeah. You talked to Florence, didn't you? Yeah. Okay.
Andre, that's right.
Folks, we'll be back after this, okay?
Oh, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the paint. Uh-oh.
I just knocked a tree over. This the paint doctor. I got the color wheel. Now you know what a color wheel is? It is the wheel at the paint works where you pick all your colors to paint your room. It could be a multicolored beard. It could be a underarm fan. You never can tell. One thing we do know is that it's time to paint. You know, you can make your wife very happy if you go to your house and paint some rooms, or you paint the outside of the house, the inside of the house. It makes them feel very good because you work hard for them and they like that. All women like to see their man sweat, you know? They do. Honeydew is what they do. And you get to do it too. So you go to the paint works at 1960 North Washington Street and you see David Heikkinen over there, and he's the real paint doctor. He fix you up with color. It's so nice when the color is right. Go to Paintworks today. Martin Senor. See? Martin Senor. Right there. Martin Senor at the Paintworks. Bye, and we see you next time. I'm burning up.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
We have a guest with us, and it is current State Representative Judd Matheny is with us this morning. Good morning, Judd.
Good morning, Rob.
And good to see you here. And you brought a lot of folks here. You have your family, you have some friends and supporters, and what's all this about?
Well, I'm proud to announce, and first off, I want to start by thanking this district, the 47th District, Coffee County, and portions of Warren County, for supporting me for 8 terms, beginning my 16th year in the state legislature. The folks here have taught me an immense amount about governing, about how to be a man, about personal relationships, how to deal with local versus state issues, and they've allowed me to learn and help walk me through learning curves throughout my life. They have supported me through major battles in Nashville that might not be popular with some parties, but I always put the district first, and this district appreciated that and has sent me back time and time again. So I want to start by thanking everybody that's listening, all the people that I've met and those that I've not met. Thank you for casting your votes for me in the future. That leads me to make the segue that this morning, right now, here first, I'm officially announcing my run for U.S. Congress for the 6th District of the state of Tennessee. And I've kind of done a soft announcement through several venues in the past, and people have expected me to perhaps jump in this race. I'm saying now that it's 100% certain I'm in the race, regardless of anyone else that enters or anyone else that remains in the race. And I'm very proud to do it. I believe I'm prepared to do it. I believe it's a logical next step for me with my experience. Coffee County is one of the main areas of the 6th District, and I'm still going to live here. My family's still going to grow up here. I'm still going to have a job here, even after I go to Congress, which I'll have to work some to help some people. But I fully intend to win this race. It's going to be a long slog between now and August of 2018. There's a possibility we could have a special election if things go a certain way in Washington, D.C. and with other people's plans, and if that's the case, I'm well ahead of the curve. And our bank accounts are open. As we speak, Judd Matheny for Congress is being brought up live on the web, as well as my Facebook, Judd Matheny for Congress. We encourage people to go there and jump on board and start looking at my releases and look forward to meeting everybody on the campaign trail. Rob, today we're going to hit about 10 cities in about 10 hours.
A busy day.
It is a busy day. I've got my family with me, and which is great. I was telling people earlier, it's got a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old, and my wife works, so it's difficult to get all of us together at one time, especially on a weekday.
Yeah.
And so it's great that we're going to be in the car traveling together, and have a couple other vehicles that are paced out in front of me that are prepping the locations as I arrive, and getting the crowds ready much like we have here today. And I appreciate all the friends that have shown up for this announcement. Everybody that is here today is a true friend, and everybody listening has been a true support.
Well, thank you so much. And, this is big news. U.S. Congress.
Yes, sir.
And, I not realized it'd been 16 years. That
8 terms. I'm beginning my 16th year. And I plan to, as right now, I plan to finish this term.
Okay.
I always told the voters that I would give them 13 months notice if I ever left this seat. Because I think the voters need to have time to choose someone else, and they need to be able to do it in a logical, predictable, pragmatic way. It gives plenty of time for individuals that would like to seek this seat to think about it, to kind of test the waters, and it gives plenty of people that want to run for this seat an opportunity to prepare for it. So we've done that, and I'm keeping my word there. You've got 13 months notice between now and the next primary, and folks can file in April, as late as April, to run for this seat, and folks over at the Election Commission can answer any questions anybody has about what it takes to run for office and time schedules and timelines. But I will be vacating this seat in November of 2018.
Okay.
After I win the United States Congress.
Awesome. Well, so tell us a little bit now. This is the 6th district. Coffee County obviously is part of that. So where does
question? It is
it winds up toward Kentucky, right?
It's 17 counties and a portion of 2 others. It begins just west of Nashville in Cheatham County, Ashland City. Goes north above Nashville to Robertson County and Springfield, then goes all the way across the Kentucky-Tennessee line to Cumberland County. So you have Fentress, Pickett, Macon, you have Trousdale right underneath there. Of course, we have Sumner, the big county in the district. We have Wilson County.
That's Cookeville too, and Crossville.
We have Putnam County, which I lived in Putnam County for 10 years and served as a police officer there. I've actually lived or worked in 13 of these 17 counties in this district as a police officer, as a student at Tennessee Tech or Montlow, or living here in Tullahoma, Manchester area, obviously. And then we also include White County and Cannon County. And but folks can just go to Wikipedia and look up U.S. 6th District, and it will show a map. It's pretty easy to follow. We just sort of curve around the Davidson County, go just above Rutherford. We have a lot of Nashville and Rutherford County suburban areas, Mount Juliet growing very big. Wilson County is a very important part of this race, as is Cookeville and Crossville. So we're going to be hitting about 9 of those counties today. And I've already been to all 19 of them, if you look at the 17 and the 2 portions of them, in the last 3 weeks, a couple of times each. And we've actually been laying the groundwork for this race in September. That's when I made my first literal trip to Washington, D.C. as a neophyte to just knock on doors and begin talking to people. And I've had a lot of support from some of our Tennessee delegation, congressmen. I have an extraordinary amount of support from the Freedom Caucus in Washington, D.C. to make this run. I am reinforcements for that group. I'm the caucus chairman for the Tennessee Freedom Caucus, which is a group that stopped Common Core and did a lot of other, almost stopped the gas tax. We were able to delay it a while. But it is the true conservatives in Tennessee. And Tea Party groups, Republican Party groups across the district know me very well. I've been speaking throughout the district for 15 years for no other reason than to share good policy and to educate people and to educate myself. Never intended to run for this office until about a year ago when I really started thinking about it and praying about it, and I realized that now it is a logical next step for me. It feels right, and I'm excited about it. And here we are today.
Here you are today making the big announcement?
Yeah, and thank you for hosting that. And I want to talk about, and don't just let me totally dominate the conversation, feel free to ask anything. I'd like to talk about some of my accomplishments that I feel are accomplishments.
Well, and that was actually one of the things, and you're going to where I was going to go anyway, in your time in the state legislature, I know that you have been consistently conservative.
Yes, sir. There's nobody with
even when it's not popular.
The only person in the state
with some.
Yeah. I have been uncompromising on principled issues. I've been reasonable on issues that affect us all, that have to do with business and policy making. But there's issues that have not been that I won't compromise on, and that's unnecessary taxation, that's Second Amendment, and that's the right to life, protecting the unborn. Those things are non-negotiable. I'd like to go into some of my accomplishments. These are not necessarily in chronological order,
okay.
But there are things that I have either driven the ship and accomplished, or I've been a major part of helping accomplish them. The first, and I drove this, was the fight on methamphetamines. That was the first thing I did when I got into the legislature. I watched meth be born in Upper Cumberland as a state law enforcement officer. Cutting marijuana and whiskey stills and a little bit of crack cocaine were what we saw mostly. If I had to give a date and a time of when meth just took off like a wildfire in Tennessee, I'm going to say it's June of 1994. That's, looking back in my life and my workload, that's when it really started. And I saw it just explode over the next 5 years while I was in law enforcement. I was passionate about it. It was one of my main issues that I ran on, was trying to get a hold of stop the wildfire.
Yeah.
We're never going to eradicate meth, but we had to stop the wildfire, get it contained, and allow our law enforcement to be able to fight it with the conventional means they had and augment them with additional means. So I actually set up a meth lab at the U.S. Capitol. Now, I didn't know how to do it. I brought in some drug guys that I've torn down a bunch of them. But I brought in some state drug task force guys, and they set up a meth lab, not working obviously.
Yeah.
But it was 100% complete, minus the ingredients doing their thing. Now, the ingredients were laid out just to show people how easy it was to do. And it was really, and still continues to be, largely a rural problem and not an urban problem. So we had a hard time convincing urban legislators to put the resource into fighting meth that needed to be. They were worried about crack cocaine and heroin, which are to be worried about, but we were worried about meth. So those efforts led to the passage of the nation's most comprehensive anti-meth law, which was fully instituted in 2005. And that's when we began to control the amount of ephedrine and pseudoephedrines that any one individual could buy, put much more enhanced penalties in place for methamphetamine, increased the access to rehabilitation programs, got law enforcement a lot of money for environmental cleanup issues. When they go into the meth lab, there's a lot that has to be done. They have to have special suits. The materials have to be bagged up and sent places, and we made those monies available. We made education available to law enforcement officers. The first time I walked into the meth lab in June of 1994, I didn't know where I was. And it just takes a while for everybody to learn how things work. And this is still a constant battle, but that's one of the things that I'm very proud of, and one of the first things.
Well, it's a major problem, man.
It is a major problem.
And it continues to be.
And then we go into our next major problem that's in the same vein, and that's the opioid and benzodiazepine.
Yeah, which has been in the national news a
the
lot.
prescription drug issues. Well, I passed, and once again, this was Judge Matheny driving. I passed the Prescription Drug Database Act about 5 years ago. There was always a law on the books that allowed doctors or pharmacists to check a database to see if someone was being prescribed the same or similar drug at the same time. But it wasn't compulsory. I made the bill compulsory. And now whenever anybody is prescribed, with a few exceptions, some surgery, short-term prescriptions, things of that nature, whenever someone is prescribed a benzodiazepine or an opioid, that doctor or nurse's assistant or whoever, pharmacist that's giving those or prescribing those, must check a database to see if that person is on the same prescription during the same time, or on one that is very similar, and so they don't need to be prescribed twice. Law enforcement, we also granted law enforcement access to that database, not on just so they could surf it like the internet, but they had to have some strong reasonable suspicion, which means they had to, or some probable cause, which is pretty solid. They needed to know that that person that they were investigating perhaps was in violation of the law or had some drugs they weren't supposed to be in possession of, so they could search the database to see which doctors are prescribing or overprescribing. That law is taking some time to fully go into effect. It's beginning to make a dent, but the problem is far from being solved. And the Tennessee General Assembly agrees with that. And as I exit this interview today, I want to take time to talk about some of the things that I still want to see done. And one is to really hit that issue with a hammer. The opioid epidemic. We have a lot of people that have Opioid overdoses have eclipsed traffic deaths in the state.
I saw that on the news now.
Accidental overdoses and intentional overdoses are well over 100,000 every year. And our state attorney general has joined with other states to begin an investigation into the drug manufacturing companies to see if there's been any false advertising. I draw a close parallel to what we're doing to what was done with the tobacco industry. It's going to take some time, it's going to take some hearings, but we're going to get control of this. Doctors you're seeing now are prescribing less controlled substances and really telling their patients, hey, you're going through a procedure or a time in your life that's going to require some pain. You just have to live with some level of pain. We're not going to be able to eradicate it all. We can give you drugs like tramadol or ibuprofen or Mobic or some other types of drugs instead of hydrocodone and OxyContin that are very devastating. So passing that law was a big deal. Seeing its implementation and its tweaks, other members have helped tweak it as it's rolled out, and it is beginning to make a difference. We've actually seen about a 10% decrease in the rate of opioid abuse. But the rate is so high that that's not really making a big difference in the street yet. So we have to continue to fight that, and I make no bones about it. It's problem number one in the law enforcement community. Heroin is another huge problem that is making its way back in. Cheap heroin and heroin with additives that are deadly. And our law enforcement guys are in over their heads with that. It's a lot of work, and the opioid epidemic issue is really difficult for typical law enforcement, because the drugs are often coming from a different source, and that's the physicians, and that's the pain clinics. And that's not where they patrol, that's not where they make traffic stops, and that's not necessarily where they cultivate informants in order to go after it. So they're going to rely on politicians and policymakers to work on that. And folks like me with law enforcement experience, and that have a good working relationship with groups like the Tennessee Sheriff's Association. I carry much of their legislation. Tennessee Chiefs of Police. I'll be helping those folks quite a bit. One of the big things I'm proud of, and it's not a very sexy issue, but back during the recession in 2009, everybody remember unemployment rates were in double digits in almost the entire state. Coffee County was about 14% for a while. Warren County was about 17%. We had some counties as high as 22 or 23%. The unemployment insurance fund obviously was very, very taxed. It was being depleted rapidly. And I was chairman of the Consumer Employee Affairs Committee in the House, and the easiest default way to get more money in the unemployment insurance fund in order to pay all of these claims and the extended amount of claims that we had was to simply borrow money from the federal government, which they were offering at a 5% interest rate. And a lot of my colleagues, including the executive at the time, were very favorable of saying, hey, let's borrow $2 billion from the federal government and just replenish our fund and not have to worry about it. Well, I said there has to be another option. And I worked very hard with my friends across the aisle, worked very hard with the Senate, Tennessee Chamber, and the National Federation for Independent Businesses, and we agreed that we had to come up with a Tennessee solution, because we did not want to be dependent on the federal government at a later date for such a debt load. When this recession finally ended, which it has, as they always do, hopefully. But we were in a situation where we had about $20 million left in the fund. We had about $400 million of claims that were coming in before the end of the year. And we were not going to see an injection of cash until after the end of the year. So we set with the business community. They came up with a plan or they agreed to a plan that I had to put a 0.6% surcharge on the rate that they paid, and to go up from paying on the first $7,000 of unemployment insurance every year to $9,000. And that gave us enough cash immediately to get through the rest of the year. And then we received a large amount at the first of the year. And we were able to do that without borrowing any money from the federal government. What's important about that bill is that I've built in triggers that rolled off that 0.6% surcharge automatically. And it also, I looked at the historical surpluses that we have had in our unemployment insurance funds. So I built in my bill that once we get back to those historical surpluses, the increase from $9,000 begins to roll backwards automatically once we get to a certain amount. And the same triggers are in effect that if our surplus drops back below, then the amounts reinstate themselves. And then if we get desperately low, that 0.6% surcharge comes back in. This keeps a future legislature from having to go through the machinations that we had to go through, hopefully, for a normal deficit. time frame.
Judd, I know you have limited time.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to, if you're just tuning in, State Representative Judd Matheny, who has been our state representative for 16 years now, is announcing this morning his run for U.S. Congress in the 6th District in the U.S. House of Representatives. Judd, so as you're going to go to Washington D.C., now that's a different ball game. What are you going to take with you when you go there?
I'm going to do the same thing that I've done here. It's just kind of in reverse. I've been trying.
I know you're very passionate about law enforcement.
Law enforcement, states' rights, protecting
deal.
our rescue squads, protecting our volunteer fire departments, making sure that they have the assets that they need. Safety issues have been very important to me. I passed the nation's first and most sweeping anti-terror laws on the state level, giving our district attorneys the ability to prosecute anyone that provides material support for any designated terrorist entity designated by the U.S. State Department. They can prosecute them local as a Class A felony, which is an extraordinary tool that we have. I passed Andy's Law, which allows an individual to sue a domestic or foreign terrorist organization or their supporters for direct damages. I passed laws that limit the number of teachers that we can have in charter schools and some private schools that are here on visas, so that we don't have teachers coming in from other countries teaching things that aren't necessarily in line with our Constitution and our values. I passed a bill that requires the Tennessee Higher Education Commission to report annually to the General Assembly how many student visas are in the state and how many people have dropped out of school and still have those visas and are here, so we can begin the process of dealing with those. So that's always been a big issue to me, making sure that our rescue squads and our volunteer fire departments have as many resources as I can help get them. Some of these bills, some of these issues I pushed myself, others I was leaning my shoulder into them, but Janice Boland did a great job this year passing a law that gives our emergency first responders some in-line death benefits. And that's extraordinary for someone that's working a $12 an hour job driving an ambulance or something, but then they have to turn around and rappel down a cliff or find your loved one after they drown and they themselves are killed. Their family needs to be taken care of. And we also are allowing them some insurance, some access to state insurance benefits. I talked about right to life issues. I have an impeccable voting record, literally, on right to life issues. I have an impeccable record in protecting the Second Amendment. I've never yielded and will never yield to the protection of our Second Amendment. I've been heavily involved in pushing the places that responsible citizens can carry their firearms, and I will continue to do that. I have, like I said, been a huge issue of states' rights. I do not believe the federal government should dictate what's in the school lunch or which bathroom we can use or any aspect of marriage, and I've been very vocal about that. I've also been very vocal about getting the United States Congress and the various state houses in closer contact with each other. I've worked hard on what's called a bilateral session. Haven't been successful yet in the House, but I'll continue to set a good example in Washington. A bilateral session is basically when our 9 U.S. congressmen and our 2 senators meet with our state senators and House members once a year in public to discuss pertinent political issues so the public can understand that both bodies are working together. And some of our federal officials did not want to become involved in that, but I will be the first that I know of, and I know for a fact the only congressman in Tennessee or federally elected official that will have a field representative assigned to the state capitol every day during session to report back to me on state issues and the feelings that are happening in the state, so that the policy issues that I decide on in Washington, I have frontline information on how my constituents feel, not only in the 6th District, but statewide. Plus, I want to keep a close working relationship with the colleagues that I've built a relationship for the last 15 years. And I want to say another great accomplishment I've had is building a great rapport with our local leaders and respecting their boundaries for local government. I have not, and I do not get involved in local issues unless I'm specifically asked. And then I normally still try to get them to work it out. But my job and my philosophy has always been to let a city or a county commission decide what they would like to have done, and my job is to make it happen, even if it may not be popular with some people. I have a responsibility to pass a charter change or some type of law that the county wants if the majority of the citizens want it, even if it's not popular maybe with some that could be in my party or against my party. And so I always have tried to be fair and make sure that's happening. some things that I hope to see continue to happen, and I'll continue to help lead in the State House as I make my exit, are going to be states' rights issues, and it's going to be make sure that we are continuing to cut regulations and that we continue to make Tennessee a very friendly state for retirement. We've already done away with the death tax, the inheritance tax, and the gift tax. The Hall's income tax is phasing out. That's the income tax that individuals that have investments pay on their on their interest, on their investment income. So we're bringing more senior citizens to Tennessee. We are a very senior citizen-friendly state. And so we need to work on senior issues much harder, and I've really jumped into that the last 2 years. This year I received Tennessee Home Healthcare Association's President Award for my very hard work in bringing large insurance companies to the table, making sure that our providers, those that are providing services to seniors and those with severe incapacities and that are in their homes, and our veterans, making sure that our providers are being paid in a more timely manner, and that any claims that they have are being expedited in the judicious process. And it's really tweaked my desire to do more for seniors and to make sure that their transportation and their housing and their medical needs are met. And I will pledge that that work I've done in the state, I'll carry on to Washington, D.C. And when I get to D.C., instead of trying to drag power down from Washington to the states, and it's not that I want Tennessee to have less money, it's that I want Tennessee to have more control of the money. I believe it's very dangerous if any state has more than 1/3 of its reliance on any other body. In politics, if you have 2/3, you have a supermajority, and you can do anything. 2/3 majority could sell the state capitol and move it tomorrow. They could do whatever they want. Right now, well over 40% of our budget is direct federal money. Another decent sized percentage of it is quarantined in order to draw down that federal money. We have to slowly and incrementally and predictably, so our business environment can adjust to it, our citizens can adjust to it, our retirement funds can adjust to it, but we have to get our reliance on the state government below 33%, and all states need to do that. And I want to push that when I'm in Congress, not only health care issues, but states' rights issues. And I want to make sure that the states learn that they can be empowered to actually dictate what the federal government does. I don't want to go up there to be a boss man in Washington. I want to go up there to make Tennessee be a boss man in the nation.
Very good. Judd Matheny's running for Congress this next go around, which will be 2018.
Sure is.
And I know that right now you say, wow, that's a long way out. It's not.
It's not. That's why we're here today, and we're running hard.
And you've got several other stops today to make around the district, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you at, I know you're a very energetic campaigner. We'll see you, I'm sure, at a lot of fish fries and chili suppers and,
I'm excited
and all
about
that, but across the district. And Judd, we, here at Thunder Radio, we appreciate you taking the time this morning to not only stop by and share this exciting announcement with us, but to kind of let us be your kickoff for your big day.
Rob, you and Tiffany and Lucky and the family that's here have always been fair. You've always reported the news fairly. You've always given everybody that is running for politics an equal opportunity to present their cases to the public. You've been a great public servant. You've protected us during storms. You've kept us well informed during disasters and great things like sports events and local events. And that's all I've ever asked from anybody in the media, is to be fair. And you guys are the epitome of that. And this is my home, so being here, starting here is just a logical spot.
Well, very good. I know you guys have to run, but thank you, Judd Matheny, for stopping by this morning. Judd Matheny, JuddForCongress.com.
JuddMathenyForCongress.com, all one word.
JuddMathenyForCongress.com. Folks can find out more about what you're up to, your platform, your thoughts on things, and get in contact with you if they have questions. And
I believe Lucky's put my announcement up on your website.
Yep, announcements up on our website as well.
Which is a great website.
So you can check that out right now. And you guys drive safe today.
We will. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you so much.
Is this the year you want to get fit? If so, check out just some of the things Tullahoma Parks and Rec has to offer. Kickboxing, aerobics, silver sneakers workouts, swim lessons, boot camp, water aerobics, basketball, Zumba, yoga, pickleball, lap swimming, treadmill, karate. Get fit, Tullahoma, and have some fun with Tullahoma Parks and Rec.
When your family suffers the loss of a loved one, the caring and compassionate staff at Tullahoma Funeral Home and Coffee County Funeral Chapel are standing by to assist you in every way possible. We are proud to support local industry and offer only Batesville caskets. Many funeral homes don't own or operate a crematory. We utilize the only crematory in Coffee County. Your loved one never leaves Coffee County. We can accommodate any need and any budget. Consider our complete pre-need service to remove this burden from your family during their time of grief. Lock in today's low costs and protect from inflation. Tullahoma Funeral Home and Coffee County Funeral Chapel. Our family caring for your family.
My acting experience prior to the audition for Dukes, you learn quickly that when producers and people who are casting something are very they have very short, excuse me, they have a very short attention span. So they want whoever it is that they're looking for to walk in the door. You don't walk in the door as an actor and then prove you're a drunk, or you don't walk in the door as some guy from New York who's 18 and then try to prove that you're some guy from Snailville who's 24. So you walk in as that person. You give them what they want right away, because the old adage is you don't have a second chance to make a first impression. So that's what I had heard that another actor had done in Atlanta, where he actually came in and was auditioning for something and came in as the character and spit tobacco on the floor where the script said he was supposed to spit tobacco. And he got a call back for that audition, and his agent said, please don't spit on the floor. So he came in and he had a newspaper, and when he auditioned the second time, he put the newspaper down on the floor. And what I heard is he spit at the newspaper and missed. And I know it's got to be true because it was Sonny. It was Sonny Schroyer who played Enos. But this whole legend went around of that when people from California come to Georgia casting something, they think they know exactly what they want, so you better give it to them right away or forget it. So I was in fact 18 from Westchester County, New York, and I went and I told them I was 24 from Snailville, Georgia. And I brought a 6-pack of beer. And I offered them one. Because it's been a rough day, I've been working all day. It's a rough day, so you want a beer?
Sure, you got one?
Yeah. Got some in the so it worked. It worked. So there was deception in alcohol, but it was Pabst Blue Ribbon, so PBR.
Everybody drank that to start with. It was cheap. It was cheap.
Yeah,
right.
It's a good beer.
What about you? How did you come to get it?
I auditioned for the part in New York City. I just finished a Broadway show called I Love My Wife, and then I did a short run of a show called Oklahoma in New York at Equity Library Theater.
Get away from you. Tell your finger. You've been building. You smack it with a hammer.
These are both. It's a long story.
Okay.
So they gave me a script, and my agent actually I read for his part. And back in those days, no cell phones. I didn't have a phone in my humble little room that I had, so I call on a payphone to my answering service, and they said, so you're supposed to call your agent. I called my agent, and they said, you want to fly to LA tonight to audition, to go on tape? And I said, sure. So I got my paper bag full of clothes, and that's how I went to New York to LA. And when I got to LA, it had been a huge fire in the Sepulveda Pass.
There were 3 of them. Yeah, they were everywhere.
It was smoke. I flew into LA, and you could see below the clouds. All you could see was the fire. It was like flying into hell. There was the clouds, and there was orange underneath it. And I don't think I ever saw the mountain behind Warner Brothers when we were there. And
right.
Yeah, we were there for a couple of days, and we did the screen test, and they decided they gave up, and they gave us the parts.
John Snyder, who had 4 #1 country hits in the early 80s, also talked about his latest album.
I had not recorded a record since I left MCA, really, in '89, I think. Oddly enough, that last song was called "You Ain't Seen the Last of Me." Well, you ain't. So last year we had 2 really terrible floods in Louisiana. One that came right up to the threshold of our house, and the second one came right up to the threshold of the silverware drawer in the house. So it was awful. March and August of last year. And it was actually Alicia who'd been saying you really should do music again, do more music, because she has so much fun when we do music. And it was her notion to get some writers together on our cell phones. I wrote with a friend of mine in Los Angeles and another friend in Louisiana, and we wrote songs about what had happened during that time. And they're really great. They're not all the things I've done before. I had several #1 songs, and I really appreciate them, and they're terrific songs, but they weren't part of my soul. They were things that from out there that touched me in some way. Well, these are songs that from in here that touched me in a huge way, because I lived through this terrible time, as did everyone I know. We had a shared tragedy. Shared devastation is different than really anything else. I'd never lived through anything like that. So that's what this record is called, Ruffled Skirts. And that is in reference to 2 things. One is the skirts on the bottom of a double-wide trailer, and the water had come through and washed about every other panel out. So the skirts, Alicia said, "Oh, look, their skirts are ruffled." And it was, oh, hey, that's good. And then we had a number of dealings with an organization called FEMA, and that will ruffle your skirt too.
For different reasons, right?
For an entirely different reason, yeah.
What would your advice be to someone who's looking to break into one of those
Don't do it.
industries? Don't do it and do it.
Do it. Well, if I can say don't do it and they won't do it, that means they didn't want to do it that much.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
No, you got to have a real flaming desire to do that sort of thing. I mean, you know, you got to look. We're in the top 1% of success in this business, and we still scramble a little now and then. You know,
put ourselves on tape on our phone and all that kind of crazy stuff.
It's hard.
Which just pisses me off.
And it's not easy on your personal life either. You know, I got 5 kids, none of them ever lived with me. And you know, not because I didn't want them to, but their moms didn't want them to. They're all great kids. They all get along. They all know each other. I don't want to make this sound like I'm an absent father, because I'm not.
No, he's not an absent father.
But it's hard on your personal life. This kind of business it's pretty crappy, mostly. I mean, the business is crappy. What I'd say to kids, to people is, like, if I'm going to get paid $5,000 to go and do a movie or something, I'm getting paid to get on the plane, get in the car, go to the motel, eat the crappy food, sit around on the set. When I'm doing the work, I'll do that for nothing.
Yeah.
And the same way with music. You know, I'll do the performance stuff for nothing. Anytime. Every time.
Who was that said they pay you to wait?
I don't know.
Michael Caine or something.
Is that right?
Yeah,
well, that's the way I look at it.
I like that.
It helps.
Yeah.
You know, another case is like you doing voiceovers. You might do 200 auditions a year and get two gigs out of it. Okay, so you're looking at it like, okay, well, I make $60,000 from 2 gigs. So that's pretty good. Now you're also thinking, okay, I'd go 198 times. I don't get shit for that.
Yeah.
But if you look at it like $60,000 for 200 times, that's $300 an audition.
Yeah.
That's pretty good pay.
Yeah.
So you just got to keep it in perspective.
That's why he wasn't Bo.
John, you mentioned Alicia a couple times today. Is that a partner of yours? Or?
Yes, she's out there.
Oh, okay.
She's the brains of the outfit.
She is absolutely the brains of the outfit.
Yeah, okay.
I've always wanted to make
in your
movies.
production company?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
I always wanted to make movies. Always, from the time I was 8. Always written. I wrote and directed the last episode of Dukes. Hopefully that wasn't why. I thought it was pretty good. But I never had until I met her, I never had anybody that also is a producer that believes we can do this. You know, until then I was depending upon the blessings of others. And whenever you depend upon the blessings of others, someone doesn't bless your dream. You have to bless your dream. You have to go for it. If your dream is dependent upon someone else saying okay, then it's going to be a rough road. You'd be very fortunate to get anywhere in that business model, regardless of what it is that you want to do. You have to be willing to throw every bit of logic aside and go for it. I believe we're designed to do something, and I do because it hit me when I was about 8. I believe that we were in touch with our design and our passion when we were very little, and then people who hated us, and even worse, people who love us, try to talk us out of it because they don't want us to be hurt by failure, which is the worst thing you can do to somebody. If you are pursuing what you know you're supposed to be doing, failure doesn't hurt. You get it like calluses when you play the guitar a lot. Failure is something that pushes you toward the next thing, makes you try a different way, makes you try harder. What is the thing about Edison? How many light bulbs before he finally came up with the one that worked? You just have to go for it and go for it and go for it. So if you want to be an actor, an actress, a producer, a lawyer, a fireman, whatever, my daughter is a firefighter in Oxnard. Whatever it is you want to be, you have to be willing to not only do it for very little money, but pay to be able to do it. If you won't pay to be able to do what you say you love, then you probably don't love it. So you've just got to go for it with everything you have, because you've got one design, you've got one life to pursue it with, one goal, one dream. And I do believe that the world is set up to try to steal you from that, or steal that from you.
At the time, maybe you were just building a bridge, a business, or a community. Maybe you were simply working for a home or a better tomorrow. At the time, you served out of duty and love of country. But in that time, we see a legacy created, an American dream lived. The rehab team at Life Care Center of Tullahoma is ready to help you live well.
There's no place like home.
Getting home safely is just a click away, and choosing the right seat for your little one's age and size will take you down the road to safer travels.
How can I ever thank you enough?
Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
I'm meteorologist Leland Statham from the News Channel 5 Weather Center. Look to Jim Fuller and crew for local news night here on Channel 6.
We're very fortunate today to have a gentleman in the studio with us. His name is Steve West, and he is a Manchester boy who went off and has been successful in the music industry. And he's here today to give us a little bit of his backstory and what he's doing now. And we're just excited to have Steve here. Steve, thank you for being with us.
It's great to be here. Thanks.
And like I said, you're a Manchester boy. When did you graduate from high school in Manchester?
I graduated in '73, left town to go play baseball at Belmont College, then Belmont College, right, Belmont University now. And got started in record retail right after that, which led to concerts, doing concerts to promote our record stores. And then that led to starting Go West Presents and doing concerts on my own for 25 years. 25 years doing concerts. Who are some of the people that you promoted in concerts? Just to do a little name dropping out there. Sarah McLachlan, Dave Matthews Band, Neville Brothers, the band. Gosh, there's all kinds of things. Ice-T. I did Public Enemy. I did all kinds of shows.
Right. And you ended up out of this owning several pieces of property in Nashville as venues.
Right. I started out doing my shows at the Cannery in Nashville. There were 2 rooms there we could play shows, either upstairs at the 300 capacity, downstairs at about 1,000. And I brought some interesting people like Ladysmith Black Mambazas, that they'd never been to Nashville before. Iggy Pop and Jane's Addiction, alternative 90s guys will know those bands. And And then I left the Cannery in 1990 to open up 328 Performance Hall, which was a 1,200-seat venue. And a few times we had more than 1,200 people in.
Fire marshal let you get away with that.
A friend of mine said, make the money when you can.
Yeah, in the music business, that's a staple statement right there.
Especially when, as a promoter, for me, I was limited to how much money I could make.
Right.
But it was unlimited how much I could lose.
Oh, always.
And you mentioned Joe Sullivan earlier.
Yeah, Joe.
Joe Sullivan told me, we were on a panel one time together, and he said, when I got started in this business, I could make $100,000 on a $10,000 act. Now I can only make $10,000 on a $100,000.
Yeah, that's true.
Shows you how things turned around.
They did, and that was my next question. In dealing with Nashville and the music industry over the last 25 years or so, what are some of the drastic changes that you've seen in the whole music industry scene, but also in the scene, what's going on in Nashville?
It's Nashville today. Now, I have not been actively promoting concerts in Nashville for the past 15 years.
Right.
I will still produce some things, but to me the biggest difference is the number of venues. There's so many venues in town, so many clubs. When I was doing these shows in the 80s and 90s, there was 3 or 4 places, a band might go to. Now there's a whole lot more than
everywhere.
That. Yeah. And so, and when I sold 328 Performance Hall in 2000, I opened up another building, an office building that we renovated top to bottom, and that building is now the home of Grimey's Records and the basement, a 100-seat club in the basement.
Right.
And Grimey's Records is one of the top independent record stores in the country. They regularly featured in Rolling Stone, writing about vinyl sales particularly.
And that's come back with a vengeance. Vinyl.
They're growing every year.
All these millennials and these young people want vinyl. It sells out before the other stuff does.
Yeah, it's amazing the numbers they're doing there. Matter of fact, I'll give them a plug. This weekend is Record Store Day. There's going to be an outdoor concert behind the building there at Grimey's.
At Grimey's? Yeah, wonderful.
Basement. Yeah. A lot of good bands there. I don't know what the lineup is, but it's always a good day.
Well, I can remember when I was roaming around downtown or on Music Row a little bit more than I am now. You never could tell what Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, what day you might be going down an alley and there's a tent set up and there's somebody playing music and somebody's promoting and pushing and showcasing somebody.
Right. Exactly.
And I saw Carl Perkins in an alley down there one day and talking about riding blue suede shoes, and it's an education. You can get educated just roaming around down there.
He played 328 one time, and it was such a pleasure to meet him and talk to him. And right away, you felt like you'd known him all your life.
He's a genuinely nice man.
I liked him. I was so impressed with him, and I liked him so much. When he died, I went to his funeral down in Jackson, and was sitting there at the funeral, and Winona gets up and does a song for him, and then she says, "Well, George, you want to do a song?" George Harrison pops up and does a song, and George and Ringo were both there at that funeral.
Yeah, that's great.
That was kind of neat to see those guys.
I guess my next question is you've come back to Manchester over the past couple of years. I mean, I'm sure you've visited from time to time, but there's a church downtown, the old Methodist Church. And,
Church of Christ.
Church of Christ, and that you purchased.
Right.
And have remodeled and using your entrepreneurial spirit and owning buildings and knowing how this functions and how to deal with this. How about giving us a little bit of the story on that? Steve has brought some videos, some pictures where we can see before and after pictures. And I also went over there a couple of weeks ago and videoed what's there now.
Right.
And so why don't we go through that a little bit and let you explain to our audience what you're doing there and what you're trying to achieve.
Okay.
And we'll look at the transformation of that building, because it's beautiful, folks, what you're getting ready to see.
The building at the time when I looked at it was in September of 15, I believe, and it was being used mostly for storage. And it was sort of divided up in some strange ways. So it involved a lot of demo work.
Tell us what this is.
All right, this is a before picture. This was oddly enough in the entryway of the building. Over the years, it was last a church in '61. So over the years, a lot of people did some strange things.
Right.
And I found this bathroom at the entranceway of the
and that's under the bell tower.
It's right next to the bell tower. Now that's what it looks like now. So it's changed quite a bit.
Changed a bit. They had that door completely blocked off, right?
The door was blocked off. That's right.
And
yes.
a commode sitting there.
And a commode sitting there. Yeah. And no ceiling.
Okay, what's next? Now,
all right. There was a panel wall that covered the entire east side of the sanctuary, and then another wall that went right up in the middle of the room. And they had, before they covered it though, they spray painted or painted the etched glass of the stained glass windows, and those had been covered up for at least 30 years. I don't know exactly how long, but yeah, that's what it looks like now.
Isn't that something?
I found a really pretty light fixture above the drop ceiling in that area.
Yeah, you could see that on the picture before. You could see that hanging up there. But it was just covered up.
It was covered up, and I found it.
There you go. Now that's where the wall was built, right through the center of the sanctuary.
Right. And you can see there the red carpet and the other carpet that had been there for many years. There was quite a bit of water damage in that corner because it was covered up and they didn't realize the water was coming in.
Right.
And which that also led to termite damage.
And look at it now.
It's a beautiful place.
And that floor was under all of that mess.
Yes, it was under the carpet, and I couldn't wait to get rid of that carpet. I hated that musty smell, you know.
Yeah.
And it doesn't smell like an old building now.
And now all right, here's some more. While we're looking at, go ahead, Philip. Just keep rolling.
All right. That we tried. Actually, I reclaimed a bunch of lumber. I would pull those nails, reuse stuff everywhere I could, trying to cut corners. And so this is where I did that. But this room now has turned, that we call this the library side. And we've got what we call the white room. This is the white room.
And so that's where, when people are, because you do rent this out for weddings, for parties, for
receptions, luncheons, all kinds of stuff.
So that's a food prep or a food area.
There. Typically the people are set up buffets over on that side and then go back into the main room to sit down to eat. This is a view from the back towards the front. We built this bar there, and I don't know if you caught the stained glass windows that were in there, but they had been covered up. On this library side, the stained glass windows had been covered up since 1962, and I uncovered those in March of last year, I think.
That's great.
This is the backstage area, and what you're looking at there, that brick is the original northwest corner of the church. Originally, the church was just a one-room sanctuary, and that's the back door. They did an addition to it in 1951, you know, with all the kids coming on and needing to expand their families and everything. So they built a horseshoe around that and an L-shaped basement down below.
And the last time I was in there, that floor right there couldn't even be distinguished as wood. It was so nasty.
Yeah, we hired some people that did a good job on that floor. This, I believe, was at one time the minister's office, and at another time it was Judge Vance Lowry's office, and now it's one of the dressing rooms, and it's cleaned up real nice.
Isn't that great? So if someone comes there and they're having a wedding reception or a party, they have a bride's place and a groom's place.
I've got two rooms set up in white for the brides, and the groom's rooms aren't as nice as
of course not. They don't have to be. We don't care that much.
This is what it looked like on the side where my office is now. There was drop ceiling, again, covering up the old windows and more paneling. There must have been a sale on paneling at some time because paneling was everywhere in that building.
There's always a sale on paneling.
That's my office now.
Yeah, so isn't that beautiful? And tell us about that table. That's a very unique table.
All right. Well, that table, I got that in 1990. I found it at a used school and office furniture place. That's an old Vanderbilt Law School library table.
I'd never seen a table quite like that until I walked in there.
Here's the crazy thing. Sue Banks there in Manchester took me over. I was to show me her space about a half block away. Up at the top of the stairs, she's got one of those tables.
Are you kidding me?
I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
And a little bit about some of the pictures around the wall.
Oh, the photos on the left side, that's I produced the Nashville Music Awards for the 5 years that was going on in the mid-90s to the 2000. And the piece in the middle is Flatt and Scruggs by this folk artist, Lamar Sorrento, and I love that because when I was a kid, probably when you were a kid,
we watched them every Saturday morning.
Night. Well, I watched Saturday night.
Whenever they were on, I don't remember.
Right.
Morning was, well, there was no morning TV.
No, it was cartoons. But, you had Flatt and Scruggs, the Wilburn Brothers, and Porter Wagoner Show with Dolly Parton and Norma Jean.
Yes, you're exactly correct.
And then over on the right, that's some of my old concert posters,
Very good.
Los Lobos and Suzanne Vega and Lucinda Williams.
Lucinda Williams, she was in here one day.
Really?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I'll tell you about that. It's a strange deal. What I know you are doing the weddings and receptions and now what about music there? You're working on a band of your own now, aren't you, a little bit?
I've been playing in bands. I sort of rediscovered that around 2000, and when I sold 328 Performance Hall, I wanted to do some writing, and that led to me playing more, and then I hooked up with some other people. And the first band I was in was Zigzag, and we were together for about 5 or 6 years, and then we morphed into Zigzag Mojo. We added Jonelle Mosser.
Love Jonelle.
Who's a great singer, and so that was Zigzag Mojo. But a couple of us wanted to do a little more blues and R&B stuff, so we hooked up with some amazing musicians, and we now have a band called The Solution.
That's a great name.
And it's Solution. Solution.
Right.
So we've got one of the best guitar players in Nashville and one of the best lead singers, female vocalists. They're both amazing. The toughest thing for us booking shows is their availability because they're so in demand.
Right.
But we're going to be right here, in Manchester next Friday night, and money back guarantee. If you don't like us, you can leave.
So that's going to be and let's get this out there again. The name of your venue, your event center.
It's the Church at 117.
The Church at 117, and he's in the process of having signage designed and ready to put signage on it.
Right.
But for those who don't know, that is 117
East Fort Street.
Right. So you go to the back of the square, and you're on the right-hand side of the courthouse. You go right past the right-hand side of the courthouse. You get to the turn or the corner there. Take a right, and it's right next to the old post office.
Exactly. Right.
So, and you're going to be there with your band next Friday night.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock till.
We'll be doing 2 pretty long sets.
Okay. All right. And what's the tally on that?
$10. $10 admission.
What a deal! And you've got some great Nashville players coming in.
Right.
And how wonderful is that?
That's great.
Hometown, man.
And we're using
hometown.
We're also using it to promote the Church at 117 Book Exchange over in the old
the library.
And when I was a kid, the Manchester Coffee County Library was there on the west side of the building. And so I found some of the old library shelves and I put them up at the front and brought in most of my books from my collection. And we're going to start swapping books with people.
That's
encourage
wonderful.
People reading, more people
That's
to read.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Steve West.
Yeah.
Welcome home, my friend.
All right, it's great.
Thank you so much for being with us today, and we will continue to promote whatever you're doing. Know that you're always welcome.
I appreciate that.
To come over here and spend some time with us, and it's great to have someone with your abilities and your career in the industry that you're in to share information and knowledge with all of us around here to help make our small towns vibrant and full of wonderful, fun things to do.
Well, Manchester's a wonderful place, as is Tullahoma. And I'm happy to be there. There's this great energy downtown, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
All right, Steve West. Folks, we'll be back next time.
What's a Tennessee vacation? It starts off like any road trip, and then, boom, adventure and thrills everywhere you look, which happens to be some of the most beautiful scenery in the country. Music here, history there, and all kinds of green in between. Come relax and unwind, or bring the crowd for some stargazing, or stargazing. Whatever you do, come hungry and expect an awesome soundtrack. It's all right here in Tennessee. We're playing your song. For a free vacation guide, visit tnvacation.com.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
Well, what a great show we had
boy, wasn't that a good show?
Yes, absolutely.
That's incredible.
Yeah. A lot of good information. I'm very proud of us and our crew that we were able to bring you this kind of thing on a holiday.
On a holiday.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what happens post-Bonnaroo.
There you go.
Be safe and sound out there, folks. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.